Think net worth equals freedom? Think again, because being asset rich but cash flow poor is actually keeping high income earners stuck. In this episode, I'm going to show you exactly what unlocks real financial freedom, and it's not what your advisor told you. Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. This show is for you. You want to become work optional, where you work because you want to, not because you have to, because you have enough passive income coming in to pay for your monthly bills. But guys, it's not just about helping you get rich, because you want to be able to work because you want to, not because you have to. You want to have enough money to not only cover your family's needs, but also live a rich life where you can create a ripple effect to the lives of those around you. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I appreciate each one of you. And this is you. I'm talking to you. You've been binging. You've been sharing these episodes with others. And without that, I could not be creating this ripple effect, nor could we be able to bless more lives. And it's all because of you. Thank you so much for doing that. If this episode's anything of value to you, especially if you have colleagues, coworkers, friends, family, whomever, anybody who you say, listen, they need to hear this, whether it's this episode or another one, please share the episode with them, because this ripple effect can actually bless more lives. And we're seeing it today. In fact, this episode is going to be talking about that today. So please do so right now. Also, another way you can help, give a shout out if you don't have any friends or family. Just kidding. I know you do. But if you, another great thing that can help us out is feel free, leave us a review, right? On iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you do that. We'd love to have a good review, good positive review, or even just like this video. All right, so we talk about net worth. Net worth has always been taught to us as being like the ultimate measure of wealth, right? It's like the ultimate way of seeing, are we wealthy or are we not? However, what I'm finding all too often, many of you, in fact, are asset rich, but cash flow poor. You're passive income poor. Yes, you make good money. Yes, you might even have $1 million or more net worth, yet it does not pay you anything. And I wanted to dispel that myth today by actually sharing a real life example of one of our clients who actually got stuck in this very situation and what we did to help them get out. So let's just kind of dive into this right now. I'll give you the story. This is a client that actually I've worked with now for about 7 or 8 years. Great guy. He's a dentist, very talented. His wife also is a very hard worker, and she works in her field as well. Two very successful people. Two big people that are raised as savers. So these are not big spendthrifts or anything like that. These people have been raised as savers, very conservative living. And yet they have high income, but their expenses are also rising up. Few reasons for this. There's been things where there's been negative cash flow, right? And so they had actually reached out to me recently for 2 reasons. One, because they reached out because some friend of theirs was trying to sell them an index universal life policy. And even after running apples to apples numbers, our policies, our whole life policy, blew it out of the water. I shared that with them, but yet this other agent kept insisting that theirs was better. And so they're like, yeah, we might get it anyways. I'm thinking, why are they doing that? But then I also hear they said, well, yeah, also our cash flow has really been struggling. Some of our investments aren't paying as high as they were before. They're paying, but they're not paying as well. Plus, costs are going up with inflation. We got our kids to put through, with the different private schools. Plus, they also are going to be saving up for college. And they've got, nannies because they both work, that they pay part-time and all yada, 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 right? Basically, like their lifestyle is creeping up on them, yet their income wasn't rising up as well. And it was at the point where it was creating a lot of tension with this couple, right? That the wife was feeling kind of like she was becoming a slave to her job. She's saying, wait a minute, like I'm working. The whole goal was to get me away, eventually out of working here. And yet here I am still, right? Now understand, I haven't met with these people for several years. They kind of followed our stuff, but I could tell they stopped listening to podcasts. They haven't been following as closely as they have in the past. Now he still would follow, the husband would follow, but the wife, not as much, right? So they weren't on the same page. He's much more conservative. He has a lot of fear-driven decisions that were going on. She's much more aggressive. She's thinking, hey, maybe we should just, go for it. Like maybe we should just, go and take some higher risk investments and make more money. Well, he's like, I don't want to take high risks, right? This may or may not sound like you if you're married, by the way, or if you have a partner. This is very common in this kind of relationships. So he wants to play more defense because he's scared. He doesn't want to lose money. She wants to play more offense, saying, "Hey, we're still in our 40s. We can risk it. We're in our late 40s. We can still make this work." But here's the big thing. They're at the point where they're saying, we're actually looking at these different services and with the debt, and of course they had a home equity line of credit, the interest rates went up, so they're paying more on that. And so again, these expenses are creeping up on them. Insurance costs, as you guys well know, both on auto and home, all these things are creeping up on them. And he's like, "Hey, now we're starting to charge up credit cards and things like that, which we've never done." And so we're looking at this debt consolidation company, or this company that helps us negotiate debts. It'll probably destroy our credit. And I said, "Stop right there. Do not call them. Do not pay a dime to these people. Don't even do that stupid insurance policy that person's pushing on you, because they're literally just trying to make a commission for themselves, not put you in a better situation. They're actually trying to put you in a worse situation. And if your cash flow is that tight, you shouldn't be looking at getting a policy like that anyways." And so I said, "We need to talk." And so we got on a call. And this is, by the way, just for me, yesterday before recording this, got on a call, and they sent me their numbers. For all of our clients, we have this Cashflow Optimizer, right? Which is basically like a spreadsheet that looks at income and expenses, the assets and liabilities. So we're looking at net worth as well, looking at everything. And when they sent it to me, it shocked me, because yes, they were negative cash flow. It was about 4,500 a month, but they're also saving almost 5,000 a month. So technically, are they negative cash flow? No, they're not. I mean, they're just barely paycheck to paycheck, but it feels tight. In fact, that's what the wife said. She's like, "I know we have assets, but man, like, I don't feel like we're getting paid anything from our investments." And she was right. Their net worth was $3.5 million. Here, let me show you what the situation looked like here. All right, so this is our cash flow optimizer. Very rudimentary. It's a spreadsheet, right? It's Excel, and so this is something that we've been using. Actually, I've been using this now for going on, 17 years now, I guess it's been, although we refined it over time. So notice, good income. These guys are making almost 400,000 a year. This includes a few investments that are paying them some cash flow, but their expenses are higher. Now, I did go through this. I'm not going to show you line item by line item, because I'm trying to keep this anonymous as much as we can. And of course, scrolling down, you might see names. But what we'll see is, of course, they're saving almost 5,000 a month, between like whole life insurance premiums, which are also adding to their cash savings. They're also saving to retirement accounts, which, of course, retirement accounts are also locked up, more so than the life insurance, because they can't get to it. So it's going to their 401ks, but it's doing nothing for the cash flow. So again, the money's just going out. And as a result, that's why they've been kind of creeping up on credit card charges over the last few years. Again, they're not buried in credit card debt, but it's significant. Now look right here. You'll see the net worth right there is $3.5 million, right? Their assets are $5.3 million. Liabilities are about $1.75 million. So again, not extreme debt. Now this might look like a lot. You might say, "Oh my gosh, they've got $1.75 million of debt." Yes, but they've got over $5 million in assets. Some of these are actually rental properties with mortgages where there's significant equity. They could sell this off. In fact, this is one thing you got to understand when it comes to net worth, right? If you have positive net worth, you are debt free. Debt implies that you have negative net worth. That implies that if you were to sell off all your assets, you would still have debt left over. Then yes, you have debt. Now, if you were to sell off all your assets and there's no more debt, no more loans that need to be paid off, then you're debt free, right? So understand that although you may not be loan free, or as we say here, liability free, notice that we call it liabilities. That's the technical term for it. Liabilities right there. That's not the same as debt, right? But yes, liabilities are referring to the loans that they have on this. Now, you'll see here, they've got all kinds of checking and savings and things like that. And so even just liquid cash, even between LLCs that they've got for their different stuff, they've got, sitting in savings, almost $300,000. This includes, by the way, life insurance cash value, which they've got a significant amount of. They've got about $215,000 in life insurance cash value between different policies, some that we set up, some that were old ones they set up before. So they do have significant amount of savings, really more than they need for this situation. But the biggest chunk of their net worth is in their properties. They've got about 3.4 million if you include the primary residence. Now, if you take that part out, right, if you take out their house, still, I mean, they've got rental properties that would total up to be, about $1.5 million, right? So $1.5 million of rental properties plus the $1.8 million house. Now, they have brokerage accounts. They've got some municipal bonds and whatnot, right? They've got stocks, a little bit here and there. So they've got different stuff here. They even got some different investments they have. Some of them are, frozen. Obviously, they're locked up. Some of them are paying, of course. They've got Roth IRAs. I mean, these guys got everything. SEP IRAs, solo 401ks. I mean, they've got all kinds of stuff. Some of this in different types of syndications that they've done over the years. Some worked out well, some didn't. Some of them were from a guy that actually introduced me to them, funny enough. And so they even got 529 plans. So these guys, and they got Bitcoin, right? They got, all kinds of stuff here. So all over the place. They got assets. So about 1.6 million of additional assets. Now the loans, not so bad. I mean, again, most of these are mortgages. They have a private student loan. They also have an Audi loan as well. And then of course they've got credit cards. Now the credit cards, that was the part they don't like, because between all the credit cards and different loans there's about over $100,000 of this. And so they're wondering, what are we going to do? Because again, it's not about the net worth. They feel broke right now. They feel like they're sinking. I mean, did you ever think you might hear somebody say, yeah, I'm making almost 400,000 a year, but I'm sinking? This is why. Now, taking out taxes, they walk away with less than 400,000 a year, but still, that's not a lot. So I could already tell by looking at their net worth what needs to happen. And so I go to this cash flow index tab where we talk about like ways to pay off debt. Now, what I do actually is, if you don't know what the cash flow index is, this is where we don't use the interest rate as the way to determine what to pay off first. We don't go for lowest balance necessarily, and we don't go for highest interest rate. What we go for is what money can we pay towards a credit card, or even pay off a credit card, or any kind of loan for that matter, and free up X amount of dollars per month. So we take the balance of the loan divided by the minimum monthly payment, and we'll get at what's called the cash flow index. Now, this is something we actually trademarked. This is our calculation I created in 2008 when I was trying to dig out my own debt hole. So the lower the index, the more we want to pay it off. Why? Because, for example, you see right at the top here, they have this tiny little balance of $250 on a credit card, but the minimum payment on the credit card is $41 a month. Well, 250 divided by 41 gives you 6. So think of it this way. Even if you don't understand what I'm doing here, the effective rate of return is another way to look at this, right? Because if you free up $41 a month, that means you're freeing up almost $500 a year by paying off a $250 credit card, right? Now, some people will argue like, well, I don't really free up $500 a year. Well, based on the minimum payment, that is the case, right? That's the cash flow that frees up. So I'm looking for what gives me the best ROI on paying off a loan. In fact, I'll even compare this to whether I should invest or not. So again, looking at the whole picture of how do we improve their cash flow. Now, this could be different. If they had great cash flow, we might look more at like, okay, maybe we pay off some higher interest type things. But again, I'm looking at the cash flow index. Now, so really this is about a 200% rate of return, because you make in cash flow $500 a year, or 197%. Now, this other one, it's a 78. 14,000 divided by 181 is 78. That's like a 15% rate of return on your money. Now, all these people are saying like, yeah, well, what about, if I should invest this here or there? Well, you've got some of these loans. Maybe we pay off some of these loans. Now I make it easy. I tell people you could do the whole data sort thing on here. So you do that, boom, you do it from lowest cash flow index to biggest, right? And it's all in order. That was the one thing. It was like so messy for them. Let me go back. If you see it, you'd see right here, seeing all these credit cards and all this stuff. And, it's all over the place. I mean, you can definitely tell there's some in the hundreds and 200s. By the way, if it's hundreds, 200s, we love it. What's interesting, just so you know, let me go ahead and resort this again. So when we're looking at this, right? For example, you see here, so we have the 6, we have the 36 or whatever, but the ones that stressed out the husband the most was actually the ones that were the highest number. The ones that actually were pretty good. One of them was actually the home equity line of credit. He had a HELOC right here of about $400,000. That's about $2,500 a month. It's a 160, right? So that means for every $160 you charge on it, it charges you $1 a month. Well, that's way better than like this credit card over here where they charge this Chase Visa charges $36 to create $1 a month. I mean, if you were to put the same 160? Yeah, $160 on this card, you'd pay $4 a month on that card versus $1 a month on that HELOC. But again, he was looking at the big payment. They were also stressed out about like her student loan, which was also over 100. So I'm looking at like the two loans you guys are stressed out about are the ones that you shouldn't even be paying down aggressively anyways. Focus on these top ones. So I said, if we just do this, we focus on these first four, even the ones that are below 40, look, we'll free up, or there's about $34,000 in balances, but the payment it frees up is $949 a month. So they free up almost $1,000 a month with just 34 grand. I asked them this. I said, guys, if you knew you could put $34,000 in an investment to pay you almost $1,000 a month, would you do that investment? And this is a guaranteed return. And without hesitation, they said yes. I said, bingo. If you've been following this podcast, you're probably looking for great ways to create passive income right now, right? Well, we got you covered here with Central Lending. Central Lending specializes in alternative investments that actually are designed to create steady returns and long-term financial security for you and your family. Now, they prioritize transparency. They love, building those strong relationships, giving you that confidence and peace of mind, knowing that you have your money working harder for you, so you don't have to work so hard for that money. You want to learn more how to do that? Go to centrallending.com and check out what they've got today to create your passive income and wealth creation right now. Then let's do that. Because even if you got 1% a month, which is 12% a year, which would be amazing, on 34,000, it'd still be $340 a month. We're getting almost triple that by just paying off these loans. Now, the next one was an Audi, the next one that was on there. I said, well, the Audi is that, it's more of a fixed one. You got to pay it off completely. So when it comes to car loans, especially when they have lower interest rates, I'm not as big as paying those off, although the interest rate was a little bit high. So I said, do this first. I said, you know what? So we pay off these four plus these two. So I skipped over the car loan here, the Amex and the Apple card or whatever. That's all below that. That's $75,000. That's in total balances. But that $75,000, doing that will free up, check this out, $1,850 a month. Still a lot more, because $75,000 making 1% a month in an investment would be $750 a month. They're making $1,100 more a month, guaranteed, without any risk, because we know you pay off a credit card, it's done, right? Guaranteed, it's done. And I was like, if you do that, what will happen is that paying down and or paying off the credit card balances will improve your credit score the next month. You'll see the credit score jump up. I said, then we go and we refinance your Audi, and I think we could free up another $100 a month on the Audi payment. Get a 5-year refinance on that. I think we can get it down to around $400 a month. I said, in total, just by doing this, and really it's $75,000 out of pocket, we can free up about $2,000 a month. And then of course the next question is, yeah, but Chris, we don't have $75,000. And I said, bull, because net worth, remember this, guys, net worth is worthless if it's not generating cash flow. Net worth is worthless unless it's generating cash flow. Passive income or improving your cash flow situation, it doesn't matter. These guys are multimillionaires, and yet they feel broke because even the money they were making from investments, they kept reinvesting that money. And that's not a bad thing. But when it's not coming home, it doesn't feel like you have anything. This is why putting money in a 401k isn't great, or in IRAs or Roth IRAs. You put it away, you lock it in prison forever. But if it doesn't come back to pay you anything, it does nothing for your day to day, does it? For them, they needed some relief day to day. So I said, let's do that. They said, where's the money going to come from? I said, well, we got to make sure we keep at least $200,000 for liquid reserves, because based on your spending, I would say keeping about 180 to 200,000 would be good. But guess what? As we already see right here, you've got about 286,000. You've got about 50,000 between all these different bank savings accounts, a lot of them. He's like, should we get less? I'm like, you could. You don't have to, but consider it. But he's also got all this life insurance. And I was like, you've got life insurance you could be using. And by the way, you can use that life insurance cash value to pay off those loans, and then take that extra $2,000 a month you just freed up, pay it back to build that cash right back up again to build up your savings. I was like, or you could start looking at other places. Now I told him, I'm not an investment advisor. I can't tell you to cash out stocks and things like that, but you've got stocks, you've got municipal bonds or whatnot, that you could be cashing out. You've got, we may not touch the IRAs, right? But look, they've got like this Coinbase account, right? They got, Gemini and things like that. So they got all this crypto. I was like, I still think crypto could go up, but it's had a good run lately. Anything that you might have seen in your situation, like stocks, mutual funds, Bitcoin, obviously they went to all Bitcoin by this point. I was like, this stuff has all had a good run. What if you capture some of your profits? Because here's the problem: stocks, crypto, those kind of things, they don't pay you any income. there's no difference in your monthly income, is there? No. What if you take that out? I'm like, heck, even if you had gold and silver, I'm like, you could cash that in if you wanted to, right? Gold and silver's had a pretty good run. I wouldn't cash all of it out, just like I wouldn't say cashing out all your Bitcoin. Again, I'm just talking about theory. I'm not giving you advice here, but you could actually still keep this stuff, but then cash out some of those gains you've made lately and turn it into actual income, cash flow for you. You could use that to pay off your loans, right? You could do that. They're like, yeah, we could. I'm like, great, awesome. By the way, I'm not done yet, guys. I was like, and of course, the wife said, you know what? The life insurance, like we were kind of looking at this like a bill, but this is actual savings. Why don't we use that money? And then we can pay it back however we want. I said, great. That's what it's there for. As long as you keep enough money for that 200,000 or so in reserves, yeah, you've got just enough that you could do that. So sure, you could do that. You don't have to touch your Bitcoin or your stocks if you don't want to. I was like, or because we're not done yet. Because remember, you've been the whole 4,500 a month. Again, most of that's you put in money in savings, but still, wouldn't it be nice to have some breathing room so that you know you can save and not have to like figure out where to pull money from, to do that? I was like, what if you could look at some of these stocks or mutual funds that you have or the Coinbase or whatever it might be, capture those gains. Or remember, you've got right here, you can see it here, guys. They've got like like I said, 1.5 million of real estate. They got so much equity. I was like, you got 3.4 million in real estate here. What if you looked at the properties? Because he's got 7 rental properties. Like, I want you to go through and calculate return on equity. Return on equity is this, is that you take the net annual income from those properties, from that one property, let's just say, right? That net annual income from that one property and divide it by the equity that's available in the property. So I told him, I said, hey, this first property, it's worth 245,000. Looks like down below, you'll see he owes about 140. You got about 100,000 of equity. What do you think is your net profit here? He's like, my net profit's about $4,000 a year. I'm like, so $4,000 a year is your net profit after you pay property managers and your mortgage payments and everything else. And that's what you're left with is 4,000 a year. Well, that 4,000 divided by 100,000 of equity is a 4% return on equity. What if you could sell that property, get the 100,000 out, and you might have to pay a little bit of tax, but probably not bad. It's capital gains. Take some of that money and then use that to invest. Even if you're left with $80,000 and that 80,000 produced even just 10% a year, that's 8,000 a year. That's double the cash flow you're earning on this property right now. So why don't we look at that? So yes, look at anything that maybe has gone up a lot, including anything that's appreciated a lot in your properties, anything that's again, Bitcoin that's gone up a lot. You've had stocks that gone up a lot. All of these things are overvalued. A lot of them are. Not all properties are, but some of them might be at a good top where they could cash in their chips and use that to generate income. I said, if you want to make that extra 3,000 a month of income, not even that, because it was about 2,000 a month we needed, 4,500. We needed 2,500 a month. That's 30,000 a year. I said, if you can get 300,000 liquidated out of all this net worth that's just not doing anything for you, get that 300,000 making 10%, that's 30,000 a year or 2,500 a month. I said, guess what, guys? With just $300,000 plus the 75 to pay off credit cards, you can actually increase your cash flow by 4,500 per month. If you're trying to do the math, guys, that's like 54,000 a year with about $375,000 conservatively, right? That's the difference. Needless to say, they were very thrilled. They felt hope again for the first time in a long time. This was something that was creating a rift in their marriage, right? Because they're arguing about what to do with it. And I said, really, they're both right. He's right. He needs to play safe, and they should play safe. They had to have a good defense, but you also have a good offense too. And the offense has to be about cash flow. Net worth is worthless unless you have cash flow. And this is why I'm showing to prove you, because I know they're not alone. I know there's many of you, your situation might look similar. Now, you might not be in the hole. You might even have a lot left over each month, but you might still say, yeah, but I've got a net worth of maybe 500,000, a million, maybe 5 million, $10 million. I've got all this net worth. How much is that net worth paying me? Because if I could earn even 8% a year on a million of net worth, that's 80,000 a year that I could be making right now that I'm not enjoying today, that I'm not enjoying, or I even could use to reinvest to then create more cash flow faster, create that multiplier effect, that income avalanche, as you hear me talk about, where we compound your income. Where at first is worrying about compounding interest, right? And that's the thing. Even these guys, I guarantee their net worth would have kept increasing, but they would have still felt broke. I can't tell you how often I've seen people that are asset rich, cash flow poor because they fall into this trap that thinking that net worth is the key, that you got to lock your money away in prison because every financial advisor tells you to do that, don't they? Lock your money away in your IRAs and your 401ks and in your Roth IRAs and lock it away and paying off your house and paying that debt off, right? Notice I paid off debt, but it was a very different equation. I wasn't talking about paying off the other loans quickly. I was talking about just doing that. And there was other credit cards they could have paid off, but I said, no, focus on these ones first. Increase that cash flow. Get yourself to the point where you have some breathing room, and then we attack those other cards to then free up more cash flow. So it's like a two-pronged approach. And that's exactly what the wife said. She's like, this is two-pronged. It's like we're attacking the loans that we're the ones that will give us the biggest ROI on our cash flow. And then two, we're then investing our money in ways that generate actual income, not just promises of returns like a 401k that builds inside of it. If it builds inside of it, it's not that at all. It's about this money comes home, this money comes in, and maybe, just maybe, it might create that time freedom that they've been so desiring to have for several years. That, I'll tell you, this is why I love having fun, right? This is where even Albert Einstein says that creativity is intelligence having fun, and that's the thing I love is that, to me, it was very plain to see. And I know that's the same with our coach, Craig. When he sees this stuff, we see it all day, every day, right? Like this is the stuff that we do all day long. But it's amazing how we let emotions get in the way. Or in their case, it may not have been just emotions. It was also dealing with the fact of beyond scarcity was that every person on the financial media is telling you the same thing. Lock your money away in prison, don't they? They don't tell you to create passive income. Yeah, you get Robert Kiyosaki that talks about it, but how does he show you to do it? He doesn't, right? He just talks about it, but it doesn't actually show you what to do. Many people, they try to create passive income by following Robert Kiyosaki's books. By the way, I love Rich Dad Poor Dad. I love this series. Obviously, we just had Sharon Lechter on. But the big thing is that the how-to is drastically lacking, isn't it? And I get it. It's a book. You're not going to learn all life secrets and all the financial secrets, but come on. I mean, that one thing alone, even the cash flow index, you guys just learned right here, watching it in action, was huge for them because it had to shift their whole perspective away from this net worth, saving and slaving away. It had to focus them away from looking just at the interest rates. It had to get them away from looking at just the payments because they're looking at the big payments with these big loans, but those payments were actually low in consideration compared to all these other ones, right? So that's the thing. It's the perspective, the mindset that has to shift first. Then the strategies become easier to do second. It's that 1-2 punch. You can't do it without either one. That's why I spent more time in the beginning focusing on their mindset, getting us on the same page, all three of us, to me get clear what they both wanted, and then me acting as the intermediary to say, great, you both can have what you want. You can have your cake and eat it too, right? And so this is where I enjoy this. This is why this podcast exists. This is us having fun, right? Intelligence is, creativity is intelligence having fun, right? Maybe it's intelligence is creativity having fun. Whatever Albert Einstein said, either way, it's fun, right? This is what drives me. This is what I'll tell you, this couple inspired me. They might have felt a lot of hope and felt inspired. I felt inspired because this is why I don't just sit on a beach living on my passive income. This is why I don't just shut down the doors and say, I'm good. My family's good. See ya. It's because this is what I feel like is a calling. This is the mission that we're here to do. This is the ripple effect that we keep talking about. This is just one example, just the little way I hope that I can create a ripple effect in people's lives and give people hope, just like this couple, right? Give them hope, get them reset and back on the track that they need to be on, right? That to me is what makes all of this worthwhile. This is why I still do the podcast, because I want you to have that same kind of hope too. So anyways, I don't want to belabor this any longer. Just know that I'm here for you. I'm cheering for you. I want you to get prosperous. I don't want you to get in that trap of net worth, because net worth is not freedom. Yes, it's a good measurement of wealth as it progresses, but the real wealth, the real flex that you can get is when you have income coming in, when you have cash flow, more income coming in than your expenses, not just from being cheap, because you have passive income, multiple streams of passive income coming in that ensures that you become work optional. You work because you want to, not because you have to. And you get that time freedom. You get to choose what to do with your time. Just like I get to choose with mine, You get to choose with yours. I don't want to just live that wealthy and prosperous life. I want you to live it as well. So that's my challenge for you this week is go and make it a wonderful, prosperous week. Do not believe in the lie of net worth. Net worth is worth less unless it has passive income and cash flow behind it to back it up. That is the real flex. That is the real freedom. Go and make it a wonderful, prosperous week. We'll see you later.